3 days after open-heart surgery, I lay in a hospital room staring at my phone. The nurse had just told me I was being discharged in 2 hours. No one to pick me up. No money for a cab. My apartment was 40 miles away, in a neighborhood I could barely afford. I was 64 years old, and I finally understood what it meant to be truly abandoned. My name is Thomas Reeves. For 37 years, I was a postal carrier in Columbus, Ohio. Rain, snow, heat that melted the asphalt. I walked those routes until my knees gave out. Retired at 62, with a pension that barely covered rent and groceries. But I was proud. I'd raised my son Marcus alone after his mother died when he was 7. Double shifts, skipped meals, the same jacket for 15 years. Everything for his opportunities. It worked. Marcus got into Ohio State, then law school. Got hired at one of those big firms downtown with marble lobbies and espresso machines that cost more than my monthly pension. He married Vanessa, a lifestyle consultant, which meant she spent other people's money on things nobody needed. They lived in Upper Arlington. More bathrooms than I had rooms in my entire apartment. I was proud. Sure, visits became less frequent. Birthday calls got shorter. Christmas became a text with a $50 gift card to a restaurant I couldn't afford. But he was busy, successful. That's what I told myself. Then came the chest pains. I ignored them at first. Old age, stress from a leaking bathroom ceiling. But one Tuesday morning, I collapsed in the parking lot of my building. My neighbor, Mrs. Chen, called 911. Triple bypass surgery. Within a week, or I might not make it to 65. $30,000. Medicare would cover most of it. But I'd need somewhere to recover. Someone to help. I called Marcus. It took him 6 hours to call back. There was noise in the background. Music. Laughter. "Dad, this is really bad timing. We're at a charity gala." "Marcus, I'm in the hospital. They're saying I need heart surgery." He stepped outside. His voice changed. "When?" "Friday. I'm scared, son. I need you to be here." Silence. A long one. "Friday. Dad, I have a deposition Friday. It's been scheduled for months. I can't just—" "Marcus, please. I might die." "You're not going to die, Dad. You raised me, didn't you? Look, I'll try to visit over the weekend." He didn't visit that weekend or the next. He sent a text the day of surgery. "Good luck, Dad. You've got this." That was it. The surgery was terrifying. They cracked open my chest, rerouted my blood vessels. When I woke up, I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. The pain was everywhere, but worse than the physical pain was the emptiness. All around me, other patients had families, wives holding hands, children bringing flowers, grandchildren showing off report cards. My bed had no one, just machines beeping, a window looking out at the parking garage. On the third day, a nurse named Patricia came in. She was one of those nurses who'd seen everything and had no patience for nonsense. "Mr. Reeves, you're being discharged this afternoon. We need to know who's picking you up and what your home care situation looks like." "I'll figure it out," I said. She looked at me over her reading glasses. "You just had open heart surgery. You can't drive. You can't lift anything over 5 pounds. You can't climb stairs without help. You need someone at home with you for at least a week." "I'll manage." "Mr. Reeves, this isn't optional. Hospital policy. We can't discharge you without a care plan." "Then I'll call a cab. My apartment's on the first floor. I'll be fine." She didn't say anything for a moment. "Do you have anyone? Family? Friends?" I thought about lying, but what was the point? "My son, but he's busy." She'd heard that before, I'm sure. "I'll see what I can do." "Give me an hour." I lay there, humiliated. 64 years old, and I couldn't even arrange a ride home from the hospital. I'd spent my entire life being self-sufficient, never asking anyone for help. And now I was completely helpless. That's when Dr. Morrison walked in. I'd met him briefly before surgery, late 60s, silver hair, the kind of presence that made you feel calmer just by being in the room. He pulled up a chair next to my bed. "Mr. Reeves, how are you feeling?" "Like someone cracked open my chest," I said. He smiled slightly. "That's accurate. I did crack open your chest, and I put it back together quite nicely, if I do say so myself." He scanned my chart, then set it down. Patricia tells me you're having trouble arranging a ride home. You live alone, 40 miles away. No family support. I said, I'll figure it out. He was quiet for a moment. He had this way of looking at you like he could see right through whatever you were trying to hide. Mr. Reeves, I'm going to be direct with you. You cannot go home alone. Not yet. You need someone checking on you, helping with medications, making sure you're eating properly, watching for signs of infection or complications. I can't afford a nursing facility. My pension barely covers rent. He leaned back in his chair. I have a suggestion. It's unconventional, but hear me out. I have a large house, more space than I know what to do with since my wife passed. I also have a full-time nurse on staff for my own health needs. What if you stayed with me for the next 2 weeks, just until you're stable enough to manage on your own? I stared at him. I'm sorry. What? You'd have your own room, proper care, meals, everything you need to recover safely. Dr. Morrison, I can't. That's not. Why would you even offer that? He walked to the window. Let me ask you something. Do you remember working the Riverside route about 35 years ago? I was confused by the change in subject. I worked that route for almost 10 years. Why? There was an apartment building on Maple Street. 4 stories, red brick. Building 447, January 1989. Coldest winter in 20 years. There was a young medical student living on the 3rd floor, poor as dirt, working nights at a gas station to pay tuition. One day, he found an envelope in his mailbox. No return address. Inside was $500 in cash and a note that said, "Keep going. Someone believes in you." My chest tightened, and it had nothing to do with the surgery. That was 35 years ago. How do you... I was that medical student, Mr. Reeves. That $500 paid for my anatomy textbooks and a month of groceries. More importantly, it came at a moment when I was ready to quit. That money, that note, it kept me going. I didn't know what to say. I'd done that a few times over the years. When I saw someone struggling, I'd scrape together what I could and leave it for them. I never wanted credit. Never told anyone. I'd forgotten about most of them. I didn't know who sent it until 2 weeks ago when I was reviewing your file before surgery. Thomas Reeves, postal carrier, Riverside route. I went through my old journals and confirmed it. Same name, same building. You didn't have to remember that, but I did. And when Patricia told me you had no one, I saw an opportunity to repay a 35-year-old debt. It wasn't a debt. I didn't do it for payback. I know, but I'm offering anyway. 2 weeks. Let me help you recover. Consider it one act of kindness repaying another. I wanted to say no. Pride is a funny thing. Even when you're desperate, it makes you want to refuse help. But I was tired, so tired, and the thought of struggling alone in my apartment, changing bandages I couldn't reach, terrified me. Okay, I said quietly. Thank you. That afternoon, James's driver picked me up in a Mercedes that was probably worth more than I'd earned in my entire career. His house wasn't just big, it was a mansion. 3 stories, stone and brick facade, gardens that looked like they required a full-time staff. A nurse named Helen was waiting. She showed me to a guest room on the 1st floor, larger than my entire apartment. A fireplace, a reading chair by the window, a bed that looked like something from a fancy hotel. Dr. Morrison thought you'd be more comfortable down here, Helen explained. No stairs. I sat on the edge of the bed, and it was so soft I thought I might sink through to the floor. James appeared in the doorway. Everything all right? This is too much, I said. I can't. This isn't. It's a room I'm not using. Consider it yours for the next 2 weeks. Now rest. Dinner is at 6. That first night I couldn't sleep. The pain was manageable, but mostly I kept thinking about Marcus, my son, who couldn't even be bothered to visit me in the hospital, who had blocked my number when I tried to call him the day before. Around midnight, I heard footsteps in the hallway, a soft knock. Come in, I said. James entered wearing a bathrobe and reading glasses. Saw your light was on. Can't sleep? Just thinking, I said. He sat in the reading chair. About your son. How did you? Patricia mentioned it. I know that particular pain, not from a child, but from people you expect to be there who simply aren't. We talked until almost 2 in the morning. James told me about his career, his late wife Margaret, his own estrangement from his sister, who'd only shown up after Margaret's death to ask about inheritance. I told him about Sarah, about raising Marcus alone, about the small moments I'd been proud of that now felt hollow. "You know what I think?" James said. "I think you raised a son who succeeded professionally, and somewhere in that success, he forgot where he came from. He forgot the sacrifices. That's on him, not you." Over the next 2 weeks, Helen checked on me like clockwork. A cook named Maria made meals that tasted like actual food. But beyond the medical care and the comfortable room, there was something else: companionship. James would stop by my room every evening after he got home from the hospital. We'd talk about everything: books, politics, stupid television shows, our regrets and hopes. He introduced me to his friends. I didn't feel invisible anymore. I felt seen. 10 days into my stay, Marcus finally called. Helen knocked on my door. "You have a call. Your son?" My hands shook as I took the phone. "Marcus. Hey, Dad. Sorry I haven't checked in. Work's been crazy. How are you feeling?" "I'm recovering. I had major surgery, Marcus. Where have you been?" "Look, I'm calling because Vanessa and I want to come visit. Maybe this Sunday." Something in his tone felt off. "How did you get this number?" "I called the hospital. Dad, where are you? Why aren't you at home?" I hesitated. "I'm staying with a friend during recovery." "What friend? You don't have friends with—" He stopped himself. "A friend who actually showed up when I needed help." "The address is 4782 Lakeshore Drive, Sunday at 2. "Lakeshore? Dad, whose house are you at?" I hung up before he could ask more questions. James appeared in the doorway. He'd heard the conversation. "Your son?" I nodded. "He wants to visit Sunday. First time he's checked on me since the surgery." James sat down. "Let me guess. He suddenly became available when he found out where you're staying." "How did you know?" "Because I've seen it before. People who disappear during the crisis suddenly reappear when they think there's something to gain." He paused. "Thomas, I need to tell you something, and you're not going to like it. I had my attorney do some checking. Your son Marcus is in serious financial trouble. The firm has been losing major clients. He took out a second mortgage to maintain appearances. His wife's spending is out of control. They're leveraged to the point where one missed payment could collapse everything." My stomach dropped. "Why would you?" "Because I wanted to know who had abandoned my patient." "My friend." "Thomas, I think your son is coming Sunday because someone told him you're staying at the home of Dr. James Morrison, one of the wealthiest doctors in the state." The implications hit me. "You think he's after money?" "I think he's desperate. And desperate people make calculated choices." Sunday came. I was nervous. Part of me wanted to believe Marcus was genuinely concerned, that he was still the boy who'd hugged me tight when he graduated high school. The doorbell rang at exactly 2 o'clock. I heard Marcus's voice in the foyer. Too loud, too cheerful. He appeared in the living room doorway and stopped. I was sitting in one of James's leather chairs. James stood next to the fireplace. Marcus's expression cycled through surprise, recognition, and then something else: calculation. "Dr. Morrison," he said, "from Columbus General." "Marcus Reeves," James said. "I've heard a lot about you." Vanessa appeared behind him, dressed like she was going to a country club. Her eyes swept the room, taking in the artwork, the antiques, the obvious wealth. Marcus recovered quickly. He walked over and shook James's hand too vigorously. "Dr. Morrison, I can't thank you enough for taking care of my father. When Dad called and said he was staying with a friend, I had no idea. This is incredible, above and beyond." "Your father and I go back many years," James said evenly. "We do?" I said, confused. James smiled at me. "Remember that envelope, Thomas? 1989? We go back to then." Marcus looked between us. "Envelope, Dad? What's he talking about?" Before I could answer, Vanessa had made herself comfortable on the sofa. "This home is absolutely beautiful." James explained the story. The money in the mailbox, the note, how it had kept him going through medical school. As he talked, I watched Marcus's face. He wasn't listening like a son hearing about his father's quiet acts of kindness. He was listening like a lawyer evaluating an asset. When James finished, Marcus shook his head in wonder. Dad, I had no idea you did things like that. Marcus sat down next to me. His hand landed on my shoulder, the first time he'd touched me in over a year. Dad, you're looking good, really good, much better than I expected. No thanks to you, I said quietly. His hand tightened. Dad, come on. I was slammed with work, but I'm here now. 10 days late. He laughed, but it was hollow. Look, I'm glad you're in such good hands, Dr. Morrison. Dad's really lucky to have a friend like you. I'm the lucky one, James said. Your father changed my life 35 years ago. I'm simply repaying a debt. Interest sparked in Marcus's eyes. A debt? What kind of debt? James explained again. As he talked, I realized Marcus wasn't listening like a son. He was listening like a businessman, calculating leverage. Marcus stood up. Dr. Morrison, could I speak with you privately about Dad's care plan? James glanced at me. I nodded. They left the room. Vanessa immediately pulled out her phone and started taking photos of the living room. Vanessa, what are you doing? Do you know who Dr. Morrison is? He's on the board of 3 hospitals. He owns medical buildings all over the state. Thomas, your dad is staying with someone worth hundreds of millions. This is an opportunity. Your dad helped him 35 years ago. That creates a connection. Do you know what we could do with a connection like that? In James's study, Marcus closed the door. Dr. Morrison, I want to be direct with you. My father isn't doing well financially. His pension barely covers rent. He's got medical bills from this surgery that'll bury him. What if he stayed here, not just for recovery, permanently? You get companionship. He gets security. Everyone wins. James settled behind his desk. Interesting proposal. What about you? Where do you fit in this arrangement? Well, I'm his son. Obviously, I'd need to be involved in any major decisions, power of attorney, that kind of thing, to protect Dad's interests. His interests or yours. I don't appreciate what you're implying. I'm not implying anything, Marcus. I'm stating it directly. You disappeared when your father needed you most. Now, you're back proposing an arrangement that would give you legal control over his affairs. An arrangement that would position you as the intermediary between your father and a wealthy man. I also know about the second mortgage, the firm's troubles, your wife's spending habits. Marcus's face reddened. You had no right. I had every right to protect my friend. Sit down, Marcus. Something in James's tone made Marcus sit. James opened a drawer and pulled out a folder. I'm going to make you a one-time offer. After this, the conversation is over. He slid a check across the desk. $50,000. There are conditions. First, this money is for you, not your wife. Not for maintaining a lifestyle you can't afford. For genuine necessities. Second, you will repair your relationship with your father. Not because he's staying with a wealthy man. Because he's your father. Third, you will never, ever ask him or me for money again. This is a one-time bailout based on your father's kindness to me. Not your worthiness. Understood? Marcus stared at the check. Why would you do this? Because your father would want me to help you. Even after everything, he still loves you. I'm doing this for him, not you. And if you don't accept the conditions, you leave here with nothing. They returned to the living room. Marcus looked at me. Dad, can we talk alone? We went out to the garden. It was a beautiful afternoon, warm for March. Dad, I'm sorry, he finally said. For what specifically? For not being there, for the hospital, for not visiting, for everything. Why weren't you there, Marcus? Really? He sat down on a stone bench. Because I was ashamed of failing. Dad, I'm not the success you think I am. The firm's struggling. I made bad investments. Vanessa spends money faster than I can make it. We're drowning in debt and I couldn't face you. The man who sacrificed everything for me. I couldn't look you in the eye and admit I'd screwed it all up. So you just disappeared. I know it was cowardly. I told myself I'd visit after I got things under control. But things never got under control. They got worse. And then when I found out where you were staying, I thought, he trailed off. You thought you could use me. Use my connection to James. He nodded, not meeting my eyes. Yeah, and Dr. Morrison just offered me money to help with my debts. $50,000. Are you going to take it? I don't know. The conditions are. They're fair, but they're hard. He wants me to fix our relationship, to actually be your son again. Not just when it's convenient. And you don't think you can do that? I don't know if I deserve to. I abandoned you, Dad, when you needed me most. I sat down next to him. My chest hurt, but not from the surgery. Marcus, I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone. When your mother died, I didn't think I could go on. Every day felt impossible. But I had you, and I made a choice. I could wallow in my grief, or I could be the father you needed. So I chose you, and I'd do it again every time because that's what love is. It's choosing someone even when it's hard, even when they disappoint you, even when they fail. He started crying. Real tears, not the polite social ones. I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. I put my arm around him, careful of my healing chest. I know. Now, what are you going to do about it? Marcus took James's offer. He and Vanessa left an hour later. At the door, Marcus hugged me carefully. I'll call you tomorrow. A real call. Is that okay? That's okay. After they left, James found me in the garden. How are you feeling? Hopeful, scared. Both? Both is appropriate, Thomas. I need to tell you something. That check won't clear for 6 months. If Marcus doesn't follow through on repairing your relationship, if he goes back to ignoring you, the check bounces. He'll have spent 6 months thinking he had a safety net, only to discover he never did. I stared at him. That's ruthless. That's accountability. If he wants the money, he earns it by being a son. If he can't do that, he doesn't deserve help. Over the next 3 months, Marcus called every Tuesday and Thursday. At first, the conversations were awkward, stilted, but slowly, it got easier. He told me about his work, his fears, therapy he'd started, conversations with Vanessa about their spending and priorities, and he visited every other Sunday. James and I had fallen into a comfortable routine. One evening, James asked if I'd consider staying permanently. Thomas, I have more space than I need and more money than I can spend. You have companionship to offer and a lifetime of stories I want to hear. Why not make this official? Official how? Stay. Live here. Not as a guest, as family. I thought about my apartment, the leaky ceiling, the thin walls, the loneliness. Then I thought about the last 2 months. Conversations over breakfast, watching old movies together, having someone to talk to about books and ideas and life. Okay, I said, on one condition. I pay rent, $300 a month from my pension. Thomas, my property taxes are more than your annual pension. $300 a month or I'm not staying. He sighed. You're the most stubborn man I've ever met. Fine, $300 a month. I'll donate it to charity in your name. 6 months later, James's attorney called. Mr. Reeves, I wanted to inform you that Marcus's check cleared today. All conditions were met. Marcus had done it. For 6 months, he'd showed up, been present, tried. He'd done it because he wanted to, not because he had to. That Sunday when Marcus arrived, I told him. You knew? He asked, stunned. James told me after you left that first day. And you didn't say anything? Would it have mattered? Would you have behaved differently? He thought about it. Honestly, probably not. I needed to do this for me, for us. He paused. Dad, Vanessa and I are making changes. Real changes. We sold the house in Upper Arlington, got something smaller. She's actually working now as an actual consultant. We're in couples therapy. It's hard, but it's good. I'm proud of you. Don't be. Not yet. I'm just trying to be the son you deserved all along. A year after my surgery, James and I were having breakfast when he said, I need to tell you something. I'm revising my will. I set down my coffee. James, no, we've talked about this. Hear me out. I have distant relatives who'll get trust funds, but the bulk of my estate, the house, the medical buildings, the investments, I'm leaving to you. Absolutely not. That's insane. It's my choice. Thomas, you saved my life 35 years ago with $500 and a note. Now I've gotten to spend this last year with you, sharing my home with someone who genuinely cares, who asks how my day was, who makes me laugh. You've given me something I thought I'd lost when Margaret died. Family. James, I don't want your money. Good. Because I'm not leaving it to you for the money. I'm leaving it to you because you'll use it the way it should be used. You'll help people quietly the way you always have. Some postal worker somewhere will find an envelope in their mailbox with enough money to change their life, and they'll never know it came from you. I started crying. You're not dying, are you? Is there something you're not telling me? I'm 71 with a pacemaker. I'm not dying tomorrow, but I'm not going to live forever either. And I want to know that everything I've built will go to someone who understands what really matters. James lived another 8 years. Good years. We traveled places I'd never dreamed of seeing. Europe, Japan, Australia. We watched as Marcus and Vanessa had a daughter they named Sarah after my late wife. When James finally passed peacefully in his sleep at 79, it felt like losing a brother. The will reading was simple. James had left generous trust funds to his nieces and nephews, donations to medical charities, and everything else to me. The house, the medical buildings, the investments. The total value was staggering. More money than I'd earn in 100 lifetimes. James's attorney handed me an envelope. Dr. Morrison asked me to give you this when the time came. I opened it. Inside was a note in James's handwriting. Thomas, 35 years ago, you gave me $500 and a note that said, "Someone believes in you." You'll never know how many times I reread that note during hard days. How many times it kept me going. I'm leaving you everything because I believe in you. I believe you'll use this wealth the way I tried to help people, to make a difference, to be kind when no one's watching. But more than that, I'm leaving it to you because you taught me something important. Family isn't about blood, it's about showing up. It's about choosing someone every day. These last 8 years have been the best of my life. Use the money well, help people, and every now and then, leave an envelope in someone's mailbox. Some medical student somewhere is struggling. Be their miracle. With love and gratitude, James. I stood there crying, holding this note from a man who'd become my brother. I still live in James's house. My house now, though it'll never feel like mine. Marcus visits every Sunday with Sarah. She calls me Grandpa Tom. I've set up a foundation in James's name. It provides grants to medical students from difficult backgrounds. Every student who receives a grant also receives an envelope. Inside is a note that says, "Someone believes in you. Keep going." I've left anonymous envelopes in mailboxes all over the city. Usually $500, sometimes more. I'll never know whose lives they change. But somewhere, someone is holding one of those notes at their darkest moment and finding reason to continue. That's what James taught me. That's what my wife Sarah taught me. That's what I'm finally teaching Marcus. We save each other, not with grand gestures or public declarations, with small acts of kindness when no one's watching, with showing up when it's inconvenient, with choosing someone every day, even when it's hard. My son almost lost me, but he found me again. And in finding me, he found himself. I almost lost everything, but I found something better. A brother, a family, a purpose. All because I collapsed in a parking lot, and a cardiac surgeon recognized my name from an envelope he received 35 years ago. Life is strange that way. The smallest kindnesses echo across decades. The people you save might save you back. And family, real family, isn't built from blood. It's built from choice. Every single day, we choose, and that makes all the difference.